Thank you, Mario, for the introductions. So, welcome to my talk, and my talk will be about, yes, Mario already gave you some introductions. It will be about how I built a check-in kiosk with the using Ubuntu Frame, Ubuntu Core, and what else? Raspberry Pi. That was a long title. Yeah. So, yes, of course, Mario already gave some introduction about me, but to give you once more, my name is Youngbin, and I'm mostly involved with the Ubuntu community. So usually with the organizing local communities for organizing some meetups or some events like that. So, yeah, I'm member of the organizer of the Ubuntu Korea, and I'm also part of the Ubuntu Local Community Council, which is a team for the helping out the Ubuntu people who would like to build their local community in the region and help out making that connections across the world. And I am also involved with the organizing a lot of events this year. So I'm a part of the UbuCon Asia committee, like mentioned, and I'm also involved with the UbuCon Korea, and the annual DB conference is also happening in Busan this year. So I'm also involved as a part of the local team this year. And for my work, I'm working with the CloudMate for building some services there. So a few notes before starting my talk. It's not really about some kind of best practices because I was new to trying out the Ubuntu Frame last year. So it's just about how I try to use it for my own project. So you may to note for that before listening to my talk. So let's get started. So why we built a check-in kiosk for the events? So when I was organizing UbuCon Asia back in 2022, we were actually using the multiple event platforms for the registration due to some kind of payment issues. Like if we use the local platform, the foreigners, they can register and make payments, and Koreans, they can make payments on the other foreign platforms. So we just decided to use two. And the problem was that we were not able to streamline the check-in process. So there was some missing check-ins, and some people didn't get their tags. And so there was some kind of problem. So if I try this kind of event once more, I want to improve that kind of check-in process at the event. So I started to work in my own kiosk project. And why I choose to build on top of the Ubuntu Core and Ubuntu Frame? Well, I've been to Ubuntu Summit and UbuCon Asia back in 2022, and there was actually a lot of talks and workshops about the Ubuntu Frame and how we can build a kiosk or digital signage built on top of that. So it really catch my some attractions. So after participating those kind of some sessions, I went to try building some of my own projects on that. So that was the reason why I choose that. So by the way, what are Ubuntu Core and Ubuntu Frame? To give you some short introductions, I think you already know about the Ubuntu, right? It's one of the most popular Linux distributions in the world, and the Ubuntu Core is a kind of operating system optimized for the building your IoT or edge computing or embedded devices. And one of the biggest notable differences between the Ubuntu and Ubuntu Core, that would be everything are snap packages in Ubuntu Core. Like even system updates are managed with the snap packages. So that would be the biggest difference. And the Ubuntu Frame, while the Ubuntu Core is like that, and Ubuntu Frame is basically a kind of full screen Wayland shell. It's built on top of the mirror display server. So since it's basically a Wayland compositor, so if your Linux GUI apps compatible with the Wayland, you can also launch that inside the Ubuntu Frame, and you can use it like for kiosk or some digital signage for that. So since the Ubuntu Frame is also packaged as a snap package, so that we can run it on the Ubuntu Core, there is something special things you need to set up for using the Ubuntu Frame, which is called interfaces. Like it allows you to access some system resources, something like Wayland socket, like system, your text input screen, yeah, like that. And so you usually configure the connection, interface connections to allow your GUI app to communicate with the Ubuntu Frame. So that was short introduction about the Ubuntu Core and Frame. So this was basically my original plan for building my kiosk. So my plan was to, of course, using built on top of the Ubuntu Core and Frame, and I had some existing webcam, so I wanted to use it for scanning QR codes, and I also wanted to try out the working with the Flutter apps, because on that time the Flutter support for the Linux was also promoted a lot, so I also wanted to try that with the Yaru Dart, which is a Ubuntu style theme for the building your Flutter applications. And well, on that time I also got a RISC-V board, but yeah, I wanted to try it, but I was not able to use it because Flutter didn't have support for the RISC-V at the time, so I just replaced it with the Raspberry Pi. And yes, of course, we also need a cheap library printer for printing some tags. So first thing I did for my project would be finding a cheap label printer, because if you search for the label printer, you usually find the printers from the something like Epson's or Zebra, and of course they're very good printers, but they're very expensive, right? And it doesn't make sense to buy those expensive for just your hobby projects. So I thought I started to search for some AliExpress for cheap printers that seem to be work with Linux. And this is what about. And yeah, it worked with Linux, but it only worked with the x86, and it didn't work with Raspberry Pi. So I was not able to use that driver to make some label printing. So instead, I tried something alternative way. Like if you look at the label printer, they have their own programming language, something like TSPL, GPL, or ESCPOS. You can use that to directly control your label printer. So I have tried out the TSPL, which wasn't easy for me. Well, and I also did a lot of workarounds with printing properly. So I was also trying to see how other mobile library printer apps, they are sending commands to the printer. And like if you look at the printer, they have a dump feature. You can dump the comment data from the application, and this is what I got. A lot of labels printed in just a second. So this is how TSPL command looks like. Well, it was one of the command lines supported by the printer about, and so it looks much easier than ESCPOS. So I decided to use that. And when you're using it on Flutter, you can build the command like that. And after that, I started to work with a Flutter app for implementing some features. Like first thing what I did will be building a QR code scanning feature using the, well, Flutter is a camera program, but they don't have support for the Linux. So I just look for some plugins that work with the GStreamer. Well, I think I was able to implement it. So I implemented QR scanning with the webcam first. Then once I have built some part of my apps, I started to work it, testing it on my desktop first, like my working machine, like laptops. Like you can actually test it very easily. Like if you're running snaps on your laptops, and you can just install Ubuntu Frame snaps and just run the Ubuntu Frame with some environments. Like you can use the Wayland display environment for configuring what kind of socket you will be using, and then you can just launch your app inside, like this. Like if you launch the Ubuntu Frame, like I said, it's just a full screen shell. It gives you the empty screen first, then if you launch your application inside, now that's what you got. Yeah, you see your application launch inside the frame, and you can interact with the application. Now that you have tested your applications, next thing what I did would be writing a Snapcraft YAML. Snapcraft YAML is kind of a configuration file for building your Snap package. So Snap is actually like a similar to Docker container in terms of bundling dependencies you need to run required to run your applications. So if you're familiar with the Docker files, maybe you can also easily start with the Snapcraft. So you define your Snapcraft, and inside you define what kind of dependency you need, and yeah, something like that. And there's something a bit tricky when you're working with the Snap for the Ubuntu Core, because the environment is quite different from the package for desktop. So you can really take advantage of the desktop extensions, but fortunately, there are many some example projects that you can build on top on it. So you don't need to start from the scratch. And another different thing from your normal desktop application, that would be it's launching as a daemon, so that you can so that it will be launched automatically on boot of the Ubuntu Core environment, and it will also not interrupt your command line prompts after you launch your applications. So then, after you have defined your Snapcraft, I also started building this app. Well, you will normally build your Snap package for your laptops, but in this case, we're gonna build it for the Raspberry Pi. So, but I think, well, usually cross-compiling is a bit quite complicated to set up. So you can actually leverage the existing infrastructure. If you look at the Snapcraft CLI, which is a tool for building the Snap, there's a remote build command which you can leverage the Launchpad infrastructure to build for some other CPU architectures like ARM64, like that. Or if you want to automate the build of your Snap, there's some GitHub actions that you can use it for working with the workflow. Like there's a Snap Core action build actions that allow you to build your Snap. And well, you will also need to build Snap for the multiple architectures, in case that you can use the Snapcraft multi-arch actions for cross-compile your Snap for some multiple devices, like your PCs and Raspberry Pi and much more. Then, since I have built my Snap, now it's time to test it on the actual machine, like Raspberry Pi, like used for the building kiosk. Like, well, setting up your application in Ubuntu Core is also quite straightforward. Like, if you already have Ubuntu Core installed your Raspberry Pi, you just need to install Ubuntu Frame Snap. Then, like, you will need to copy your Snap over something like SCP. Then you can just install it. But you need some dangerous flag because you're installing your local package. So that will allow to install your package for the file. And one thing you need to note is that I mentioned about the interfaces earlier. So you will also need to connect the interface, the Wayland interface, so that your application can talk with the Ubuntu Frame and you can interact with your applications. So for my use cases, I also have some scenario for that. People need to enter their emails for checking in. So I also add the on-screen keyboard. The adding the on-screen keyboard is also quite straightforward. Well, there is already a Ubuntu Frame OSK snap. Just need to install it on your device, and it will basically automatically and configure and launch. So, well, there's really nothing to do. It just works. So this is how it works in actions. My the kiosk setup I have built on the on-site. So if the people touch the text input on the screen, then the on-screen keyboard will be enabled. And well, but actually not everything's were straightforward. Like mostly something like if you're new to working with snaps, like working with interfaces will be a bit tricky because you might not know what kind of interfaces you need to add. For that, you can use the Snappy debug. It helps you find what kind of interfaces are missing on your snap graph. So you can use that for debugging. But even after that, there was some many things like tricky to work with. One of the things would be like I have found that it's working. The QR code scanning with the webcam is working on my laptop, but it wasn't working on the Raspberry Pi. And now the problem was that I was not able to fix it like while the deadline is approaching. So for that, I just decided to give up and just borrowed the QR code barcode scanner from my friend and replaced the scanning feature with some like text input, because the barcode scanner gives me some keyboard input, so I was able to easily replace the implementation. And I also had some problem with the Trick USB, the plugin. They only have support for the x86, so didn't work with the Raspberry Pi. So I also need to do some weird workaround. I wrote a simple Python server using the Pi USB. And yeah, that was I have made the setup anyway. And another problem I got on the on-site where I'm setting up was that it was the network configuration issue, because the venue, they did provide the Wi-Fi, but it has a captive portal, which means you need to turn on the web browser to log in. But in the Ubuntu Core, we don't have the web browser, so I was not able to connect the Wi-Fi. Instead, I just hook up Ethernet cable with my laptop and just share my the network connection. Well, it was a workaround, but work anyway, I think. So let's about look in action, how it works. So that was how it actually worked in action. Yes. So I told you there was still some couple of issues. Even I able to set up on site. So I'm still trying to improve after the event because I need to use the same setup and the same event this year. So what I'm trying to work it first will be adding a network configuration interfaces so that I can configure network if on site. So I was actually able to implement it using the NM package, which is allows you to. It's a Flutter package that allows you to interact with the network manager, so that you can configure the network connections on your Linux system. And there are actually many packages available already that allows you to interact with the Linux system, something like Dbus, Bluch, and much more. Yeah, I'm also thinking about some kind of how can I deploy much better. Maybe I can try out some OTA feature that Snapstore provides, or I haven't tried out yet, but I think I can also try using the gadget snaps. I heard that it is for the adding some like including configurations in the snap packages, so that I can deploy in the multiple machines much easier. So that was my use cases of the Flutter and Ubuntu Frame. So to summarize my thoughts on these technologies, like I think the most things were quite straightforward. Something like working in Flutter for Linux. They have already many tools available for the Linux and packages also available, so I can work with using my VS Code and my Ubuntu desktop. And using the Ubuntu Frame and the Ubuntu Core was also using itself was quite straightforward, but I think the building a snap for that environment was quite tricky because what I need to bundle would be is quite different from the desktop snap, so that was something tricky. And yes, the working with the network on site, that was I think that was one of the most tricky things when I was working with the Ubuntu Core. So that was for my talk, and just before finishing my talk, I have something to advertise. So there is a UbuCon Asia happening in this year in Jaipur and India. It will be happening around late August to September 2nd. So we are currently calling for proposals. So if you would like to join, you can scan the QR code for more details. And we're also calling for sponsor for the event. And the annual Debian conference is also happening in South Korea. So we will be calling for proposals quite soon. So if you will be interested, you can also scan QR for details. And yes, we're also calling for sponsors for the Debian conference. All right, that's all for my talk. Thank you for joining my talk. And if you have any questions, feel free to visit the Korea First Committee booth on the second floor. Thank you.